There we go. Yes, team, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. And we are here with the man, the myth, the legend, Ryan Smith. Welcome, my friend. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Yeah, good. Thank you. And yourself?
I'm not too bad, not too bad. We are tuning in all the way from the other side of the pond, right? In Australia.
Yeah, yeah, we are. Yeah.
I love it. And how long have we been in Australia for?
So I've been out here just over a year now. Yeah, been out here just over a year now, and have done. Yeah, I was out here 2020 for 3 months and 2022 for 6 months as well. So yeah, a little
Absolutely.
bit.
Yeah, fully got the bug. I've still never been
Yeah.
out, but any clients that I've got, like, if you go, you'll never come back. So that's why I was like slightly hesitant about going. But I really
Yeah.
appreciate your time, mate. Do you want to give everyone just a little bit of an introduction, like who you are, what you do, just as a bit of information?
Yeah, so I'm Ryan. I work in agriculture, so I'm an agricultural mechanic. Have been for I think it's about 9 years now. Probably a bit longer than that actually. So that job obviously allows me to travel as well, and do a bit. And yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I love
So
that.
it's difficult with work sometimes, but we've made it work.
I can imagine. So was it work that took you out to Australia?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it starts off as like a what we call a harvest exchange.
Okay.
So basically, you come out for 3 months or 6 months or however long, within that sort of time frame to basically chase harvest. So you do harvest in the UK, and then you come out here and do the same thing, or you can go to New Zealand as well.
Sick. I love that. And do you want to give everyone, obviously, it's been an incredible journey so far. And I know your journey's been such an inspiration for so many of our clients. Do you want to give everyone a little bit of information just in terms of like why you reached out to us in the first place and why did you want to start this journey anyway?
I've always been the big kid. Always. It's something that I've tried many times previously to overcome it and sort of get into shape, but always struggled. And the actual thing that started me on this journey, mainly big time this time, was I wanted to do a skydive. I still want to do a skydive. But when you look on the website, it said maximum weight of 95 kilos. So, and I was at that point then I was at 116 or 117 kilos.
Mhm.
So, sort of looked at it and went, I'm going to do this. I'm really, really going to push to do this now. And so came over here in September, started trying to get in shape and lose weight and do it all myself, but really, really struggled for sort of 6 months up until March. And then was scrolling through Instagram, saw a lot of different, fitness online coaches, yourself being one of them, and just I think I actually sent you a follow, and then you sent me a message, and we just got chatting from there. And yeah, the rest is history, really. And yeah, just the help and support that's come with it has just been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. And it's been, uh, I knew from our very first conversation that you were going to get insane results because you'd already started, you were already ready to make that change. You just needed the right avenue, the right guidance, the right support, and you would have been, and the proof's in the pudding. You've absolutely crushed it, and we'll get into the results. But just take me back to that kind of September. You were 116 kilos, right?
Yeah, 116 to 117. Yeah.
Okay. And your weight is something you struggled with your whole life.
Yeah, always struggled with it. I was always bullied through school. Never really had any friends through school. Always bullied for being the big kid. Always been the big kid. Even playing sports, I was always in the forwards in rugby. And something that I've always struggled with. I've tried and sort of got to points before where I had lost weight, but I'd gone, too far into a deficit and just not been able to sustain it. Not really known what I was doing and sort of trying to get to understand it was very difficult for me. And sort of looking back at pictures from the last, even the last sort of 5 years, where you sort of look at it and you go, wow, I was a big, big boy.
Yeah, you don't notice it, right? Even to think about my transformation, I was 102 and I got down to 80. Um, I didn't quite realize how out of shape I'd let myself get until you look back, because I think particularly men, we justify it. Well, like, oh, it's only a couple of kilos. It's all paid for. Yeah, but I had fun. I had a few beers with the boys, whatever it might be, and you justify it and you justify it and you justify it. So bar the skydive, was there anything else that was like kind of your trigger or like the this is the reason I need to make a change?
I mean, I always sort of, whenever I looked in the mirror, I just, you feel like a blob, effectively. Um, Not to sugarcoat it, but that's pretty much how it is. And you look back at pictures and you go, wow, you are actually big. And it's not until you start really looking at pictures of going to events and things like that where you sort of look at it and you go, wow, you're seriously out of shape, and you need to do something about it. And I was always sort of half driven to do it, and half wanted it, and wanted to look better, wanted to be in shape. When having pictures taken and things like that, wanted to, not wanted to be able to reminisce rather than looking at it and going, wow, you look terrible. Um, and even over here, we obviously spend a lot of time on the river and things like that, local to where we are, go out on the boats and things. And even looking back at pictures of that, and you just think, and you're just not confident in yourself. Even when you go to the beach, you take your top off, you go for a swim. I didn't want to do any of that, and that was a big thing for me. Was wanting to be in a position where I was confident to do that. And I was happy to join in with everyone else and be that confident person. And it was something that I'd very, struggled with a lot. And I think the skydive then just topped me over the edge, seeing that there was that maximum weight. And I was like, I've got to do something about this.
Yeah. And I think so many people will relate to exactly what you've said there. It's the wanting to do something, but having your body holding you back from doing it, or doing it and being fully present. Because you might go down the beach and you'll be a bit hesitant to take your top off and go for a swim, but you'll do it. But then you're spending your whole time in your head thinking, why is everyone looking at me? I feel so uncomfortable. My love handles are hanging over. Why is my belly not fit in my fucking shorts? And then you're not being present with family, friends, loved ones, and actually being able to enjoy the moment. And I think there's so much to be there. So was there anything that you were skeptical of before you joined the program?
I think the biggest thing for me with my job is obviously I do a lot of hours. So the thing for me was another big thing was, am I going to have the time to do this? If I get a coach, or if I do something like that, or if I, trying to do this, am I going to have the time to do this? And I've had a gym membership for years, but I was a bit further away from the gym than what I am now. I mean, I'm probably less than 10 minutes from the gym right now. So that's obviously been a bonus for me as well. But I think it's a big thing is also been the mindset. You have to be in the right frame of mind to say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to transform myself.
Absolutely. To give people a bit of context, like when you say you work a lot of hours, what does that look like on a weekly basis for you?
Uh, you can go the extreme scale of what I've just done. So from Thursday through till yesterday, so 4 days, I done 64 and a half hours uh, at work.
Wild.
But yeah, I mean that's the extreme side of the things. I'd say normally I'd average, especially during harvest time, um, I'd average probably between 12 and 14 hours of work a day.
Yeah, which is absolutely wild. And when you have someone sat there working a 9 till 5 telling me they don't have time, I call bullshit.
Yeah, definitely,
Yeah. And
definitely.
I think the other thing, probably to put into context, I'm going to make an assumption here that a lot of people listen to, oh, but you're out, you're active, you're farming. You probably spend a lot of your time just sat in a tractor or something as well.
I mean, I do a lot of steps during the day, walking to and from the ute and whatever. But a lot of the time, I'll be driving 2.5 hours out to a job. So you've got sometimes it can be 3 hours as well. So you've got anywhere between sort of 2 hours or 6 hours that you could be driving in a day within that time as well. And potentially even more if you're going to different jobs around the place as well.
Yeah.
So, yes, there's a lot of driving involved, which means sitting around and not doing a lot. And the problem is when you're doing that, you generally end up going to the petrol station and you buy food that you snack on whilst you're going as well. And that's a big another it's another big mindset thing to get out of. Don't just because you're driving, you're not doing anything. Don't just sit there and eat. And if you're going to do it, have something that's healthy or lower calories or snacky things that are in fitting with your diet.
Absolutely. I think the thing there is intentional snacking. It's
Yeah.
not just mindless or what's there eater. It's like, okay, what am I going to have that's going to fill me up, be tasty, and help me hit my calorie targets? Just coming back to you mentioned the mindset. What was different this time opposed to times that you tried previously? Because most people have tried to lose weight. Let's be honest here. Okay. And a lot of people, very much like yourself, have struggled or they've lost a bit and they've regained it. They've lost a bit and they've regained it. What was the difference in the mindset this time?
I think, looking at, I know I keep saying it, but I think a lot of it was actually looking back at photos and really being, looking at them and going, you've got to do something about this. And then that's a big thing as well. Like when you're having the times when you're a bit down and you start thinking, oh, I could have that, or oh, I really can't be bothered today, and you need those sort of things and those triggers to be able to then go back to and say, no, the reason you're doing this is because you need this. This is what you need to be able to do. And I think hitting 30 this year as well was another big thing. And it was like, you're 30 years old and you've never really done anything about it. You've been bullied all the way through and never really done anything about it. You've just sort of taken it on the chin. Whereas for me, it was a case of then going, right, well, I'm actually going to make this change happen, and it's going to be the best thing that a lot of people have ever seen.
And that it has been, my friend. That it has been. Okay, and I can the grin on your face says it all. And speaking to obviously Jason, who's helped you through this journey, it's just been incredible to see not just your physical transformation, but just from what we can see from the outside, the mindset, the get shit done, everything that's come with it, which has been absolutely incredible. So I love this, man. I think the biggest thing that I like to do with these kind of podcasts is just ultimately actually give people actionable takeaways. So if we were to look at for yourself, okay, and there's no right or wrong answer here, like when it comes to your training, what was like your biggest breakthrough? What's the one thing that if you were, let's say you were coaching yourself 6 months ago, a year ago, what's the one thing when it comes to training, the piece of advice you would give yourself?
Be consistent. I think that's the biggest thing is be consistent and be in the right frame of mind to want it. Because if you don't want it, it won't happen. If you don't want it, it won't happen. No matter how much you say to yourself today, I'm going to do this, unless you keep that going and you keep that mindset of this is going to happen, you won't do it. You won't achieve it. And it just won't become a reality. You have to keep driving yourself all the time and be consistent and make it a habit.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So now do you feel like you have to motivate yourself to go?
There are times that I do, especially if I've had a really busy week. I mean, today was a prime example. So today, really, all I wanted to do was rest. I wanted to stay in bed all day and do nothing. But I got up and I said, you've not been to the gym for the last 4 days because you've had to prioritize,
You haven't stopped
other
working.
things. Pretty much, yeah. Prioritize sleep was probably a big thing.
Absolutely.
But it was, it was get up and get it done. Get in there and get the session done and just make it happen. Because if you make it happen, you make it a habit to do, you will get there. But if you just sit back and go, do you know what? I've had a bit of a busy week this week. I've done a few hours more than what I would normally would. It'll be okay. That it will be okay just transfers onto next week and the next week. And before long, the it will be okay is every day. And you just don't make it happen.
Absolutely. And I think that comes back to, I've just made a note of that because I want to make a post on that. It'll be okay. It comes back to the justification. It's that, it's just one session. That's like saying, it's only one girl I cheated on. I only slept with one other person and my wife's back home. Like, you stop fucking justifying it. Okay. And I know that there's going to be some people that get really pissed off with hearing that. And I don't really care, because this is the context that you kind of need. Is the justifications are what lead to you self-sabotaging.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And if you try and justify, oh, I had a rest day yesterday, but I've worked a couple of extra hours today. I mean, there's been times when I've done a 13 or 14-hour day at work and still dragged myself to the gym, because you have to make it work. No matter what happens, if you're in the right mindset, it will work for you.
Absolutely. I think the thing to look at here though as well, you've you've turned up. I guarantee that session wasn't your best session in the world.
Oh no,
Like
no, no,
100%
no,
sure.
no.
But that's also the reality that I want people to see here is it's not about turning up and having the best session, but it's about turning up and conditioning the habit and winning that kind of like internal battle with the justification, the internal battle with the old version of yourself that would have gone, come on, you've had a busy day. I'll go tomorrow, and tomorrow never fucking comes because you justify it once, you'll justify it twice, you'll justify it 3 times. So what's the biggest thing? You say consistency, and I completely agree. What's the biggest thing that helps you stay consistent?
To be honest, I think the progress photos are a massive thing for me, because I'll look back through them, and if I look at them now from, every time I take one, I actually look at them even from the one before, but I go back to March and I look at the ones from March and I go, wow, that change there is huge. And actually, the everyone else speaking on it as well. So a prime example the other day was I was out at a farm at a job, and another chap had come out from the UK. He's back for another harvest, and he came over, and I just said to him, I said, "Oh, you're back," and he goes, "Ryan." I said, "Yeah."
Yeah,
He goes, "Fuck, you've lost some weight." And it was, and those sort of reactions really are a huge motivation to anyone. You've got to get the motivation to obviously get to that point to start with, but once you get there, those reactions from people are just incredible. And I think that's going to be one big thing for me going back to the UK is going to be a huge reaction from a lot of people that I'm really looking forward to.
yeah, 100%. It's momentum and it's positive reinforcement. Just keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. So I think it's great. But what one thing that I would be very interested here once you do get back to the UK, and I think a lot of people struggle with this as well, is when you go back, people know you as the old version of yourself. You are not the Ryan that I met 6, 9 months ago. You're not.
No.
Very, very simply. The mindset, the body, everything. It's going back and having people treat you like the old version of you. Okay. Whether that's for better or for worse, like it can be either way. I'm not saying picking on you, making comments, but I'm like, it's the little things like, oh, the old Ryan would have eaten all of that, or the old Ryan would have come out for a few drinks. And you're like,
Yeah,
I'm not that fucking person anymore.
yeah, and I get that a lot here as well because obviously the last two times I was here, we were partying a lot, we were going out drinking all the time and everything. And one thing that I've done within the last sort of 3 months is before that, I was still not partying every weekend, but I was partying quite frequently, and I was using the banking system to make up for that. But at the same time, then you feel dreadful for the next week because all you see is a scale weight's gone up high, and that's something that you then look at, and it's another week that you then feel like you've almost gone backwards. So for me, I went, do you know what? I'm going to just calm it right down. I'm going to pretty much stop drinking, which I have. There's still the odd occasion that I'll go out. But yeah, a lot of people, oh yeah, the old Ryan would have been out for a drink and, oh, it's just one. Yeah, but one doesn't just lead to one leads to one more and it
Yeah,
ends up being a big time. So I think, that's one big thing for me it comes back to the mindset thing. You have to be in the right frame to know that you're going to do something, you're going to achieve something, therefore you need to say no, and that's all there is to it. And it doesn't stop you going out, you just change what you have. So instead of having a beer, I'll just have a Coke Zero. It's You're still there, you're still present in the time. You don't have to get drunk to have a good time.
100%. Do you know my biggest takeaway from this conversation so far is how much this sounds cheesy, but like if you believe you can achieve, okay? So you've done this yourself, like you've looked back at your old focus, you're building evidence that you can do this. You're seeing the progress photos, you're seeing the scales move down, you're seeing yourself get stronger, all of these things. Then you're noticing people making comments, and it's giving you proof that you can do this. Okay. And I think why so many people struggle with yo-yo dieting, going up, going down, going up, going down, because previously the proof that they have is I can lose a bit, but I'm always going to gain it back. Whereas you're stacking new proof that you are going to do what you say you do. And that is what I call confidence. I
Yeah.
believe confidence is being able to say something and stick to it, be a man of your word. And it's why I think your physical transformation will always make you a better version of yourself. Because for most people, and a lot of people, it's the first time they say they're going to do something and they fucking do it. And
Yeah.
when we talk, I can feel the confidence that you now have in your ability to execute. When you say something, you do it. And that will make you a better partner, a better dad in the future, potentially. It will make you better at work, and it will make you better as a friend. Absolutely everything. So, dude, it's killing it. I love it. That's the training. How about nutrition? So this is the big part.
Yeah, that's been huge. I think, one thing that I was doing before was I was speaking to other people that had, had a go at dieting, that had done a bit, on their own and had results over a period of years. They'd had, fairly good results. And every time that you'd come to it and someone would say about nutrition or whatever, everyone would say about weighing. You've got to weigh your food, you've got to measure everything out. And that was always a big scary point for me, that I'd sort of go, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to put everything on scales every time I do it. I'm
Yeah,
not going to cook dinner and think, oh, I've got to put the scales on. You do it. It's, seriously, it doesn't take a lot longer than actually just cooking something, but knowing what's in something rather than just guessing, and knowing your portion sizes out of that as well. That's been huge. Um, I was thought that I was being quite healthy in what I was having previously, but I've made a few of those meals since, or attempted to make a few of those meals since, and gone, holy, that would
yep,
nearly take up a whole day of my intake now,
yep.
or close to it, from what I thought was healthy, and there's some sauces that you actually think, oh no, that's going to be good because it's all vegetable based. No, it's really not. Pesto is a prime example. It's terrible. It's delicious, but it's terrible for you.
It's, yeah, it's pesto is literally like one of my favorite things in the world. So you're talking my language here.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah,
easy and convenient. Like it's not that it's terrible for you, but it's that for a fat loss phase, it's so calorie dense that
yeah.
for the amount that you can have, it's not worth having it.
No,
Um,
and
yeah.
I'd put a whole jar in, to make
Oh
a
my
meal for
god.
like two or three of us. I'd put a whole jar in and just not think anything of it.
Yeah, yeah,
And look at it now, and I'm like, oh, I'll put a little teaspoon in, and that's
yeah,
that's enough. And it's like, oh wow. And but you just don't, you never look at labels previous. You never really think about it. You think, oh, I'm going to go to the gym. That's going to burn extra calories. I'll do a few bits and pieces. I'll reduce my portion sizes. I'll do things like that. That will make me lose weight. But
yeah.
it's not about that. It's about everything that you're putting into it. You might do the jar of pesto. But it might just be something as simple as that. That actually, if you then look at the labels and says there's 4 or 6 servings in one jar of a pasta sauce, it's wow. Okay, well I was using that in one to make it, really nice and really thick with the sauce. So I think that's one big thing that I do now as well, is every time I get something or try something new, I always look at the nutritional information on the back of the packaging, because that is huge for what you actually need to understand, and get into the right rhythm of getting the diet right, and making sure that you can still have really nice foods and all the things that you love. You just have to change the way that you do them slightly.
Absolutely. I always say there's two reasons that everyone ends up in the position where they don't want to be, where they look in the mirror and they're not proud of the man or the woman that looks back. One is you don't actually know what's in food. Example, pesto. Two is you don't make the right decisions. That's accountability and consistency. But how can you even make the right decisions if you don't know what's in the food? So we get pushback on terms, I don't want to track my calories, I don't want this. I'm like, do it, because it gives you an education. Like, even if you could never track another calorie, never weigh another piece of food in the rest of your life, you have a baseline understanding and education that will serve you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, yeah,
Simple.
100%.
So do it right, do it once. I did a podcast with a good friend of mine, Chris Lowe. He's one of the best nutritionists in the world. And I asked him, what's the number one biggest mistake that people make when it comes to nutrition? He's like, they don't learn to track properly.
Yeah, and
If
that's
you
been a
don't,
huge thing.
yeah, if you don't take it from me, take it from one of the best nutritionists in the world.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I love that you've come to that takeaway from things, because I think it's huge. Now, obviously you live an incredibly busy lifestyle, work's crazy. Obviously, previously a lot of partying and things like that. When it's come to kind of the lifestyle side of things, what's one piece of advice you would give someone else maybe in a similar position?
If you think that you have to change altogether, you don't. You maybe have to change what your intake is at an event, but it doesn't stop you from going to events. You don't have to. You can change the drink that you're having. If you're having beer, for instance sake, there might be 180, 200 calories in a can of beer.
At least.
Yeah, but you can change that and have something different. You could have vodka and soda, or vodka and water. I've seen people have,
Okay.
something like that, where you're not having so many calories in a drink. It doesn't stop you drinking, doesn't stop you having a good time, but there's no reason that you can't still have a social life and go to social events. You just have to change what you do when you're there.
And I'd add to that, you just have to change what you do there more often than when you don't. Because,
Yep.
hey, full transparency, it's Dubai Rugby Sevens in a couple of weeks here. I've got all the coaches coming to Dubai, and it's literally my favorite day of the whole year. I love rugby. I love sevens. Love having a good time with the team. I'm going to go and drink a shitload of cider. Okay.
Yep.
But I've had a couple of social occasions over the last few weeks where I could have had a couple of drinks, but I've gone, do you know what? I'm just going to have a Diet Coke or whatever it might be and drive, because I want to go full send then. So it's just picking and choosing your battles. And I know that I'll have a way better time there because I'm just going to freaking let go. But I've chosen where I want to have my good time. Okay.
Yeah, it was exactly the same as me. Like a couple of weeks ago, we had what they call the Ute Muster, which is like a country event. It was fantastic, and I was exactly the same. Let loose, drink whatever I wanted. Sort of had a weekend off effectively. But prior to that, when I had social events and things like that, I'd be having something. I'd be having diet like Coke Zero, or I'd have rum with Coke Zero or something like that, rather than having the beers or the ciders or anything like that, because that's less calories in that. So you can still go to the events. You can, if you've got big events coming up, you can plan for them. One thing that me and Jason worked through, especially to start with, was looking at it and going, right, there's a banking system. You've got 2,000 to 2,300 calories. If you drop that down and go at the lower end of your scale, you can use that banking system for your weekend. Now, obviously, everyone's different in what they're allowed within their diet, but for me, that was what my deficit was, and so we worked with the banking system on that, and just reduced what I had through the week to allow my weekend or 2 weeks time, if I had a massive event coming up, that you can bank all that up, and you're not exceeding what you should be having.
Yep, absolutely. This will be an interesting question, because I think most people can do that. But I think for most people, the struggle is they have the event, and then Saturday turns into Sunday, turns into Monday, not feeling great. So how do you get yourself right back on track? Let's say you go out on a Saturday. How do you make sure Sunday's right back?
It all comes down to wanting it. If you want it, you don't make the excuses. You don't go, oh, I'm feeling dreadful today, I'm going to do it. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that the Sunday you have to go to the gym, because you work it so that that weekend you're going to be hungover as hell on the Sunday. So you're not going to be in the right frame of mind to get and go to the gym. So what I would do in a situation like that is I'd have 3 days done in the week, and then I'd do my fourth day on the Saturday morning before the event. So then my weekend was done, and then Monday I know I'd be back in the gym. So Sunday was effectively a rest day. But you then make sure that whatever you just continue to track, because when you're, that all comes down to discipline within yourself as well. The more disciplined you are with yourself, the more chance you've got of staying on track. And you don't have to, if you decide you want to wake up and have a full English breakfast, you can do it, but you won't have as much food throughout the rest of the day.
For me, the thing is you're always being proactive. I love your answer in terms of I would have made sure I got my sessions done before. You earn the booze, you earn the social occasion. You'll have way more fun anyway. Okay. And then two, you just make sure the next day. Like if you miss 2 days in a week, it's like nearly 30% of your week. Put it as a perspective, like it's a lot. Okay. And there's a rule that I got told a long, long time ago. And if every single person could simply embody this when it comes to nutrition, everybody would be in amazing shape. Just don't miss twice in a row. Because even just then, you're 50% consistent. Just don't miss twice in a row. You're going to mess up every now and then. You're going to go off track, and that's totally fine. But if you have a bad lunch, don't have a bad dinner. If you go over with dinner, make sure you get it the next day. Just don't miss twice in a row. And it sounds so simple. Now, a lot of the people that we coach, and to be honest, even my following across social media is like 90% males between 25 and 35. What's one piece of advice you would give to men between 25 and 35?
If you believe in yourself to be able to achieve something, you can do it. If you feel like there's something that you want to lose a bit of fat, you want to gain a bit of muscle, whatever it is, don't just sit there and think, oh, I can do it myself. Just get out there and do it. You know, it will be the best thing that you've done for yourself, and be selfish, make that time for yourself rather than telling yourself that life gets in the way, because there's always a chance.
I love that, man. I love that. Well, look, I appreciate your time. I want to keep this short, sharp, and sweet so everyone takes loads of value. And I think that's an amazing place to wrap things up. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think we've covered pretty much everything. You know, hopefully I can be an inspiration to at least one person to really see transformations can happen, and it really does change your life.
I can tell you, you'll be an inspiration for a lot more than one person. I know there's a lot of younger guys who can very, very, very much relate to your journey. So I appreciate you being so open and vulnerable. Now, guys, make sure you leave Ryan some love below. I'll tag his socials, go give him a follow, whatever it might be as well. And we will catch you in the next one. Thank you very much, mate.
See you later.